I want to turn our attention now to the jobs numbers. Holy smokes, we were super excited about the jobs numbers. I was super excited about Friday's jobs numbers, wasn't I? You know, we saw these jobs numbers come out and everyone was floored by them, stunned by them. So much so, even my dog was stunned by them. He went right back to sleep. He was so excited by them. He couldn't believe it, right, Grover? Yeah, he was so excited about these jobs numbers, he just couldn't believe it. He was, and me too, to be honest with you. I thought these numbers were going to be close to 20%, which would put us at Great Depression levels. Well, when the jobs numbers came out, they were at 13% from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS. You might as well just remove that L from the middle. Because as I said here on the show that morning, in the news business, I covered these Labor Department numbers every month. So when I was a news anchor for 20 years of my life and 10 years at the network, we would sit there at 8:30 in the morning Eastern time and wait to get the numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics about last month's jobs report. And we always had to couch it this way by saying, these numbers don't reflect those who have stopped looking for work. Okay? They don't reflect those numbers. They don't reflect the people that have stopped looking for work. And they also are typically revised a few weeks later to make up for corrections, right? They have to correct them usually. So we would get all excited about these numbers. Wall Street would move up or down according to these numbers. But a few weeks later, they were always revised and fixed, which always shocked me. Well, on Friday, folks, we had one of the biggest blunders in the BLS, let's remove that L, that I could ever remember. And there's people wondering this morning, conspiracy theories out there, of course. Did the Trump administration kind of go in cahoots with the BLS and fudge these numbers? The answer is no. Well, the answer is I don't know, but I don't believe that to be the case because the BLS has been doing this for years. So what happened is the U.S. government report came out on Friday, and it included a note at the bottom that said there was an error, indicating that the unemployment rate should likely be higher than the reported 13%. So it was 13%, which was like mind-blowing. And I said, okay, I'm curious what the numbers will be in a few weeks when we fix the error, which they always do, right? They always put that little caveat in there. Well, the note said that this is, quote, a misclassification error. Now, what does that mean? Well, according to the Washington Post, the overall unemployment rate would have been about 3% higher than reported, meaning the unemployment rate would be about 16.3%. That's only about 3 points below where economists thought it would be. That's not that great, folks. That is a massive mistake. So when we saw this White House ceremony the other day and the president was out there and they were all jubilant. I mean, you had Larry Kudlow, Kevin Hassett, you had the President of the United States, you had Vice President Mike Pence, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin. You had all these guys coming out there at this ceremony talking about how great things were and how these jobs numbers reflect the programs that the White House and the Senate and Senate Republicans had put in place with this stimulus plan, that these round of stimulus plans for small businesses and so forth. Well, guess what? Maybe that victory lap was a little premature, don't you think? So the BLS and the Census Bureau are now investigating why this misclassification error continues to occur, and they're taking additional steps to address the issue. So like I said again, some people took this as a sign that President Trump or one of his staff members may have tinkered with the data to make it look better, because most of the forecasts predicted unemployment would be close to 20%, up from that 14% in April. So it looked, again, I want to be very clear about this. It was 14.7% in April. The numbers came out on Friday and they were at 13.3, and everyone said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We're dropping, right, Grover? We're dropping. No, it went up. It went up to 16. So here's the problem. What the issue was, they found that economists say the BLS was trying to be transparent about this, and they were trying to look at these numbers and say, well, these people could have been temporarily unemployed or kind of going on vacation. So there's some question as to whether or not it was around people looking for jobs. Are they classified as not looking anymore? Are they temporarily furloughed? So some of that was in there. The other reason is because typically this category is typically used for people that go on vacation. So they're saying they were misclassified into that category as opposed to where they should have been, which is actually unemployed. This also happened back in March. They made a huge blunder. They were temporarily absent from work for, quote, other reasons, according to the data. Well, the BLS noticed this and they flagged it right away, and then in March they revised their numbers again, and it was about 5.4% mistake. So, look, this is a continuing problem with the BLS. To me, it really undermines for me trust in these numbers. I haven't had much trust in these numbers for a long time, to be honest with you. So this is not surprising. I do want to find. There is a story that I wanted to bring up from one of the other Department of Labor secretaries who said, look, this is not people tinkering, and this is the former secretary under Obama, the Democratic Labor Secretary, saying, look, this is not people tinkering with it. They made a mistake. It was a misclassification. There's no conspiracies. So why do we keep getting these errors? But we had this victory lap about it. You know, we had this huge victory lap about it. And I was actually surprised, to be honest with you. We also had Kevin Hassett talking about this on Saturday, and he knew that these numbers were wrong. He knew that these numbers were wrong, and yet he was coming out talking about how, I'm actually surprised too that Fox News didn't update these numbers. I mean, right on the graphic, I'm going to show you, what they did here, but they did not update these numbers. Take a look.
Surprised by these numbers was the president. The president has been super optimistic throughout, and he's been even at times making a little bit of fun of me because I'm the one who's like, oh, I'm really worried about the initial claims and so on. But the thing is,
okay, those numbers are wrong right there. I mean, they're showing these numbers and they're wrong. On Saturday, we knew that they were wrong. The Washington Post had already reported this. The BLS had already come out, so we know that these numbers are inaccurate from the Labor Department. So, they're saying Friday on the screen there. I mean, you see that little Friday up there?
The president's policies are working, and we saw that today in the numbers that were really extraordinary. Think about it. The typical Wall Street economist missed today's number by 10 million. So we're talking, the miss is bigger than the population of a lot of states, right? I mean, it's just an astonishing bit of news.
Yeah, it's astonishing. It's astonishing because it's wrong. It's astonishing because it's wrong. So I just want to be very clear. The jobs numbers, they weren't as bad as they could have been. 20%, 19.5%, which many economists thought was going to happen. They were at 16%, but that's still not down, that's up, to be very clear. And so this sort of wait and see approach on these numbers for the jobs report, you're going to wait until July on a new stimulus because you're encouraged by this. Okay. So if you've joined us late on this, Kevin Hassett went on to talk about the second stimulus. And looking at these numbers because of where we would go because of these, in July numbers. So I want to play that for you because this is very important. If we're looking at phony numbers and we don't get a second stimulus until July or August, how many more people are going to be out of work? How many more people are going to be evicted? Here's Kevin Hassett based on somewhat phony numbers.
Will there be another stimulus package?
Yeah, there definitely will be, but one of the things that the president has instructed the team to do is to watch the numbers carefully, get as many real-time numbers as we can, and have a menu of options for him that's conditional on how the economy's doing. And so if we have another bunch of job numbers like we've seen, as going into July, then I could imagine it would be a much different Phase 4 bill than if we had a whole bunch of months like April. And so the president is doing exactly the right thing, which is he built a bridge that basically lasts until about the end of July, and so we're going to use that time to monitor the economy and think about what the best policies are. But I'm sure there'll be a Phase 4 deal because there are things like liability protection and so on that really have to happen.
So there you go. We will have a Phase 4 deal. We will have a new stimulus package. There definitely will be a new stimulus package. It'll just depend on what numbers we're looking at here and how big it will be, and will be as robust as many people think it needs to be, like the Federal Reserve, which has repeatedly talked about a big infusion to get for the American worker, because as you know, as I reported here many times, 70% of America's GDP runs on you spending money. And without that critical amount of money being spent by you going out to restaurants and buying things and groceries and everything else, this economy collapses. And the Federal Reserve has been vocal more than one time in calling for another round of big stimulus money with direct payments in many regards right to the workers who need it the most. So that's the very latest on the jobs front. That's the latest on the stimulus. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Our goal is to really educate you around personal finance, not the Wall Street stuff, not the stuff that makes Wall Street rich, about the money that moves you and your family. That's what this channel is all about. So please subscribe if you are new here, and please leave me a comment in the comments below to let me know what you're struggling with, what you would love for me to cover, and what questions you have. I try to read every comment that comes in, and you guys are fantastic with all of your questions as well. So thank you so much.